Here's an update on striper fishing in the canal by End Eddie Doherty, a retired Massachusetts court clerk magistrate appointed by the late Governor A. Paul Cellucci, author of 7 Miles After Sundown about surf casting the Cape Cod Canal for striped bass.
Good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Canal Fishing Report. We've got a west flood tide here this morning. The west tide gets most of my attention this time of year because it's also known as the migration tide. It's the one that the tide that the striped bass ride on the way to Cape Cod to Buzzards Bay when they're coming in from Cape Cod Bay on their journey south during the migration. So the west tide is usually the most productive at this time of year. So the slot size this year was the same as last year, 28 inches to less than 31. But that may all change because the striper population has been decimated for several different reasons, and so you know, they're working on that right now. Different scientists, hopefully, that know what they're doing to make these decisions. I think that was McKinnon that just rode by. Anyway, October started out really well with a lot of fish being caught and a lot of bait in the canal. We had a lot of silversides. There were so many silversides that when I'd get here in the dock, I'd shine my headlamp into the water and you'd see these thin silver torpedoes jumping right all over the place on top of the water. And it ended, the month though ended with a lot of squid, mackerel in the East End, and sand eels, a ton of mackerel in the East End. I was talking to a guy the other day, nice guy named Sean. He caught 40 mackerel in the East End, and he wasn't. Most guys use a sabiki rig to catch mackerel. It's a device where you throw it right out into the middle of a school and you can pick them off, but he wasn't using that. He was using a small lure, a small metal lure about 2.5 inches with specks of different colored paint on it, and he caught 40 mackerel. That's about as many as I've ever heard. And so the fall run was great in the beginning of the month, the first 2 weeks, and the last couple of days of September into October, those 3 days, it was unbelievable in Bell Road. There were probably over 200 fish caught during those 3 days. A lot of guys caught fish, and most of them were pretty big. The 3 days at Bell Road, there were some fish up to 48 inches caught. A lot of 40-inch fish caught. Slapshot Scotty Ewell caught a 42-inch striper with a black savage on a west ebb tide, and Glenn Lucky Cigar Lindsay caught over a dozen bonito and a 38-inch striped bass and a 30-inch striped bass for the table. He was using a Green Mac striper gear Shaddy Daddy, a white savage, and a Castmaster, and so he brought over a dozen hardtails to the rocks. Rich Petrosino, great guy from Plymouth, caught a 17-pounder, 18-pounder, and a 20-pounder striped bass with an Algag's Green Mac paddle tail. Kevin R&D Blaze caught a 13-pounder with a guppy pencil, one of my favorite top water lures. Eric Taylor caught a 37-inch with an Algag's white paddle tail. Rob Fish Sticks Pisa, one of the nicest guys in the canal, great author and a great fisherman, and just a real good guy. He caught 3 striped bass one day that were 31 to 36 inches with a black and white Shaddy Daddy. Another day he caught a 32-inch with a 6-ounce white bucktail with a fat cow trailer, a red jig strip, and he was working an east ebb tide. And then another day he used that same heavy jig, 6 ounces, to catch 6 striped bass, 30 inches to 38 inches, and he kept the 30-inch for dinner. So the Pisa family had a nice fresh fish dinner that night. And you don't get any fresher than that. And you know, that 6-ounce lure that he was using is pretty heavy, but it turned out that week the east tide was very strong, so it was hard to get to the bottom. So that's really why he needed that. Jim Kelly caught a 45-inch striped bass on a Wacky Mac, 5.5-ounce jig. Wacky Mac is another prime example of why you don't always have to match the hatch. We try to match the hatch, but there's nothing that looks like a wacky mac in the canal. It looks like a tropical fish to some extent. Another example of that really is that the lure is called a Wonder Bread lure. It looks like the outside of Wonder Bread, all these little colored dots and white, and there's nothing that looks like that either. And yet, people are very successful with those lures. Sometimes it makes a difference, and you want to match the hatch and get it close to what the bait fish looks like, and other times it just doesn't matter. Joe Keegan caught a 36-inch striper with a white Shaddy Daddy, and then was using a Green Max Savage. The next day he picked up a slot. Joe's a great guy. He fishes quite often with his brothers Sean and George. They're all great guys, and it's nice to see three brothers fishing together. Dr. Johan Frange, he teaches nuclear physics at MIT. I was fishing next to him. He jigged up a 37-inch striper and another one that looked about 33 inches. I say it looked like it, but he didn't measure the last one because it swallowed the lure so deeply that it took him a long time to get the hooks out of the fish's throat, and he didn't want to delay getting the fish in the water for the survival of the fish, so he didn't measure it, but it looked like about 33 inches. Then later he caught a 17-inch black sea bass. He's a really intelligent guy. Really, I mean, he's a nuclear scientist, you know. So when I fish next to him, I hope some of his intelligence will rub off on me. Nothing positive to report on that front yet. But Bill and the Grill Produce caught 3 slots and a 37-inch white fish lab. Then another day he caught a 37-inch on a topwater bite with a parrot-colored Super Strike bullet. Another example of parrot-colored. There's nothing that looks like a parrot in here. And then he caught a 39-inch nice fish with a silver fish lab. And he fishes with guys that they're called the Boys of Summer. That's their group name. And 2 other of the Boys of Summer, Mashpee Mike Larea and Paulie the Painter Gravina, fished together for 3 days. And the most productive day, they caught 9 fish between them, and most of them were over slot. They were using heavy paddle tails, green and white, to accommodate the same strong east tide. Bo McKinnon, who I think just rode by here on his bike, he continues to dominate. He caught dozens and dozens of bluefish, bonito, and striped bass this year, and he did well in the month of October as well. The largest one, he was he caught 2 huge fish, but one of them was 51 inches on a Dave Johnson custom white pencil. Then came the holiday storm on October 13th, and Bull was out there because nothing stops this retired firefighter, and on that day he caught a 50-pounder. It was 50 pounds, 15 ounces. It was 53.5 inches, so that's a big striped bass, and he caught it on a Wally's white pencil on the east turn. And that was only one of 25 fish he caught that day. The smallest fish he caught was 40 inches, so those are all big fish. And this is the 12th year in a row that the Pride of Plymouth has caught a 50-pound striper. Most guys would be really happy to do it once in their life. He does it every year. He's caught a striped bass in each of the 12 months of the year. And he used to fish all winter when he was, as Billy Joel would say, when he wore a younger man's clothes. And he's the most prolific surf caster I know, and he's a nice guy. And if you ever see him fishing on the canal, the way he loads a rod, the arc and the bend behind him as he's loading the rod and about to cast is really impressive. So if you ever see him, just stand there and watch him for a few minutes. It's really a work of art. So U.S. Air Force combat veteran Harold Skelton, the founder of Fishing for the Mission 22, and 22 being the number of veterans that take their life every day in this country, unfortunately, he raised $48,000 with his clam bake and comedy night. So that's a lot of money that he raised for the cause. And he announced a new rod building clinic for veterans, and he's able to fund 4 veterans per month for the 3-day program. And at the end of the program, they each get to keep the finished product. So America's heroes walk away with a brand new fishing rod that they built themselves. I was fishing one day next to a guy who I didn't know the guy, and he caught a nice fish. He looked like about 40 inches. So I went up to him And I said, I told him who I was. I said, I write for magazines and newspapers. I said, can I mention your catch in my next column? The guy looked very nervous. He said, oh, no, please don't. He said, you know, I'm not even supposed to be here. He said, I called in sick to work today so I could go fishing. Okay, I said, your secret is safe with me. And so my wife years ago had given me an Irish clatter, and I've been wearing it around my neck for about 45 years, and it's always on my neck, and so it just got worn out a little bit. So I actually it fell off. I had to have a guy put another hole in it, and it's still there. But anyway, I only found out recently that the clatter comes from an Irish fishing village in Galway, in Ireland. And I never really knew that, but the hands on the clatter represent friendship, the heart symbolizes love, and the crown stands for loyalty. And like I said, my wife gave that to me years ago, and ironically, her family is actually originally from Galway. So Clatter is a Irish fishing village right there as part of Galway. I just found out the other day, I was reading the Boston Globe, the Sunday Globe, and there was an interview with Jake Tapper, who I watch almost every day. And I really think very highly of Jake Tapper, but he mentioned, they ask the same question to these celebrities every week. It's a regular column. And they asked Jake Tapper, if you could go on vacation, who would you go with, some celebrity? So Jake said, I'd like to go with Jimmy Kimmel. And I love Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's one of the funniest guys. He's a great guy, interesting. Well, I found out from that interview that Jimmy Kimmel is not only a great entertainer, but he's a terrific fisherman. And he owns a fishing lodge with another guy in Idaho. He's a fly guy. That's kind of a real specialty, fly fishing. So now I enjoy watching Jimmy Kimmel even more now that I know he's a fisherman. So I'd ask you to please keep born resident, and he's a boy of summer, Tim Hollywood Petrarca in your thoughts and prayers as he continues to undergo radiation treatment for prostate cancer. He's a great fisherman and even better person who makes the canal a better place every time he wets a line. He's such a courageous guy that he's willing to share the ups and downs of his journey with anyone that he can help. And so, if you know, he'll talk to you and help you in any way he can. So if anybody who wants to get in touch with Tim Hollywood Petrarca, you can get me on my email that you see on the screen, and I'll be happy to put you in touch with him. So my tip of the month is that take a kid fishing. It may be too cold starting now, but at least maybe even starting next year. I took my 9-year-old grandson fishing, Joe Worth, big Joe Worth. He's a big kid. He's only 9. His father's 6'10", so he's probably going to be even bigger. And anyway, I took him fishing on the Helen H out of Hyannis, and we had such a great time. Joe's reeling in. Actually, I nicknamed him Bam Bam after the kid on the Flintstone cartoon. But he's reeling in scup and black sea bass. He even caught a small shark. And as soon as we brought the shark in, we both started singing that shark song, Baby Shark, doo-doo-doo-doo, because I got 5 grandchildren. I've heard that song so many times. But anyway, the best part for me was he calls me Papa, and he looked at me and he said, Papa, I love fishing. Now that confirmed that his DNA is running, my DNA is running through his veins, because it just really made my day. And he couldn't wait to tell his sister Molly and his cousins Addie, Lucy, and Rose about his great day fishing. So have a nice winter. This will be my last film of the year, and have a safe winter and a great holiday season. And God willing, I'll see you next spring in the same spot.
Want your nice canal catch mentioned? Email the details to eastendeddie789@yahoo.com.